Today we are beginning a very new program which will run every single Thursday as long as the collaboration stays on. But just to let you know that this program is sponsored by the People's Creative Empowerment International. They are into empowering the grassroots, basically organizations in the grassroots, and collaborating with different organizations and making sure that we all meet our civic responsibility. And we have the executive director who would give us a little insight on this, on what this is about, and then the topic for today. It's going to be worth your while. It's going to be something that you would love a whole lot because the topics that have been featured, the topics that have been discussed outside the on-air presentation, one that would really, be engaging. So stick around for that and be ready to contribute on the show because it's going to be very, very well interactive. Let's welcome Reverend Dr. Tobe Nnamani, who is Executive Director of the People's Creative Empowerment International. Good to have you. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. Good morning, listeners.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about the People's Creative Empowerment International. Just a short intro of the organization where you executively direct.
The People's Creative Empowerment International was incorporated in 2005 as a grassroots-based NGO empowering the grassroots community-based organizations and we're into different aspects of life, especially in civic education, voter education, into schools, health, management hospitals, and basically all the ways in which people can be empowered. By that, we don't mean that we don't give loans.
Okay.
So what we're doing today is also an empowerment when people get to know, understand, and learn about the things that are important. And remember that some time ago in Nigeria, the history was removed from the curriculum.
Right.
And we have a whole lot of young people who didn't get this opportunity to learn a few things, basic things actually. So today we are going to talk about Warrant Chieftaincy in Igbo land and the impact it has made. And we believe that the impacts are still here with us very much.
Right. We're talking pre-colonial and post-colonial era in Nigeria.
Yes.
Right. I mean, given the mood of the nation, we're counting 51 days to a very crucial election. I mean, it's very good to tread back a little bit and see specifically what had happened in terms of governance in the past. Can you give us a little bit of history on specifically what happened and how the British colonial masters administered, especially governance in the southeast?
Okay, let's begin with the where the Igbo people governed themselves before the white people came, what we call pre-colonial political system
Right.
in Igbo land. This area happens to be an area that did not have the kind of leadership that was obtainable. For instance, in the northern part, where you have the Sultan of Sokoto, who was all and whatever he says, everyone bows. And the west, you also have a kind of semi-kinship where the Oba or the Alafin was holding sway. So when the white people came to the east and they were looking for such a figure, authority figure, and they told him, sorry, there's nobody who, who is, once he says something, and they were not happy at all. So it was very distressful, and they went ahead to say, okay, you don't have kings, so we're going to give you one. So the system that operated in Igbo land was very different. It was a system where power was diffused, power was shared, among different clusters of groups, and no one group was able to lord it over. In fact, you could say that the Igbo Republican system was a perfect type of democracy, much better than the one that the British were practicing before they came here. So there was no group that would be able to lord it over the other groups. So
When you say the Igbo democracy at the time was perfect, what does that mean? Does it mean that there was a system already in place before the?
of course, of
So,
course.
so what system was it, and why do you think it was better than what the British brought?
Yeah, it was better because you did not have a system where one person is lording it over the other people.
Okay.
Remember, the British philosopher Thomas Hobbes said that the ordinary person, including me and you, is egoistic, is looking for power, and he will misuse it if he gets it. He's selfish. So the Igbo people understood this at the beginning. You don't concentrate power in the hands of one person because he is going to abuse it. And we saw it clearly, and it is still going on when you give power and you don't have checks and balances. So the system was diffused in such a way that you have it begins with the family. The eldest person in the family is a person that then from the family you go to the compound, that's the village group, and then you have clusters of villages that come together. So you did not have 10,000 villages that one person was in charge. So each village was in charge of its affairs. And then, of course, if it involves sending a representative to clusters of villages, they will send people. But there was something very remarkable about the system. The representative must consult the people he's representing. He does not have opinion of himself, of himself. That is of. He does not go there to bring his own thing there. He carries the opinion of the people, and anytime he stops doing that, then he's out. You can see the difference.
Right.
So you are representing the people in the true sense, and when they send you with a mandate of what you are going to do.
So there was no system of electing somebody to represent. It's just that the eldest in the family, like you mentioned, and then the community, maybe the eldest, a group are actually sent to a meeting where some certain decisions are taken
Yes,
regarding a group of villages,
the affairs of the
affairs
village.
of the villages.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was consultative. Every adult who has been initiated, which in some places you call it Ewa, when you have covered your manhood, you're able to come to the square, and each person has onoku. You have the right to raise your hand and speak, and nobody can shut you down. If they shut you down, your village, if you are the people you are representing, will tell you to come back and go out to the group. So you don't, you can, everyone is equal.
Right.
You understand?
Yes. So there was no sense of elections, like somebody choosing somebody, like
There is already, it's already seen that if you are the eldest in the village, you are the one that's going to represent.
Okay.
But even though it is by what we call
Age.
gerontocracy,
Right.
that means by the eldest person, but that person has to be able to do the representation. If he's not able, then another person could also go for that.
And it should be the next person who is the.
Yes, by also capability.
Okay.
So
So
it is not just that you are the eldest person, but you have to be capable to be able to discharge that function.
so is that where the Iwenweze came from?
Yes, Chino Achebe gave a story, a funny story, but I think it explains it very well. Achebe said that the Igbo people gathered in the square, all the Igbo people gathered and they wanted to elect a king. And every single person wanted to be a king. And they looked around, they said, how are we going to do this? Then they went for a consultation. When they came back, they said, well, we have gotten a good decision. Go to your house and be a king in your house.
And that was it.
And that was it, yes. Because some Igbo people feel ashamed that they say Igbo enweze. I'm very proud of the fact that Igbo Eze. Why should you have a king? Who is the king actually? And the word Eze does not necessarily mean king in the sense that the white people use it. Eze is a prefix. Ezeji is like is attached to something that you do very well. Ezego.
Hmm.
You understand? So it doesn't translate into kinship. We didn't have that at all in Igbo land. And it is not something to cry about that we don't have. Because in the north, where you had the Sultan who was like a god, he points to somebody and that person could be killed at any time. So here you have a very egalitarian and republican system existing in Igbo land, and the white people came and destroyed it. You ask yourself, why is it that they did not want to groom and allow the people to practice what they had before that was working? And I can tell you that the system where we are now, the position where we are now currently, is as a result of this disruption that came from the white people. They destroyed the system that we had, battered it in such a way that you cannot recognize it.
So, since the British were not sure of the type of system that we practice, because they've gone to the north, they've seen this kind of system that operated in the west, the same thing. When they came to the east, you were saying that appointing warrant chiefs was a wrong move.
It was terribly bad because, one, the person who was appointed, who was he? Because you know the people already have system how they appoint their leaders. So who was it that was appointed? Appointed for who? So the warrant chief was appointed for to work for the white man and not for his people. And his work was to collect tax, to recruit or conscript laborers to go and do the railway work or go to work in the coal mine or to construct roads, to levy people. And then it was also attached to a court. The warrant chief was also a part of the court system.
Hmm.
So that if you don't do what they ask you to do, they take you to court, they punish you. So the people who were selected as warrant chiefs were people who very often were rejected by the community. You understand? And then some they feel, okay, now I have the opportunity, I'm going to deal with the community, my community that has rejected me or that doesn't want me to do something. So they got that authority and exercised it in a very, very bad way. And the consequences are still around. And we know from history, there were three prominent warrant chiefs in what we call the northern Igbo land. That is from Udi, Enugu, down to Abakaliki and Nsukka. This is the area that is called northern Igbo. So in Enugu here, we had two people that were terrible. The first was Onyama of Eke, was a warrant chief, and his activities are actually recorded by his grandson. So those who have interest in this, you can pick that book. Onyama is the title. It was written by Delib Onyama, his grandson. And if you see what was written in that book, Onyama was so terrible that at the time the British decided to remove him
Hmm.
because so many complaints were coming. But he was also very clever. He perceived that something was going to happen. So they invited him to come to Lagos. And he took some of his wives or some of his aides. On the way, on the train as he was going to Lagos, he went into a separate cabin and killed himself,
Wow.
executed himself.
So, but again, the activities of the warrant chiefs at the time gave rise to the 1929 women's riot, like they called it.
Yes, and that was the riot was what ended the Warrant Chieftaincy completely because the British they set up an inquiry, and when what they found out was very bad, the about 1929 riot ended Warrant Chieftaincy in the Igbo land, and they started what they called Native Authority, and started recruiting some learned people because the chief